Computer. Beautiful. Kia ora koutou, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Past of Knowledge. As always, we're excited to have our guest on, but as always, we like to share a bit of reflection. Tane, nice to see you back again. What's been filling your basket over the last few weeks?
Yeah, I guess having been gone through a few personal things the last month or so, which is kind of the reason that I wasn't on the podcast. It's been a major, I think, turning point in terms of feeling overwhelmed with the amount of opportunity, and I think probably that what that has given me is this knowledge that having so much opportunity is almost sometimes as worse as having no opportunity. Because I think I've been, as you kind of suggested, PJ, I've kind of been trying to go a million different places without offending anyone. But actually, I've been offending everybody in doing that because they really want me, because they can see the values and the people that I have around me and the way that I'm able to connect people from different realms and different spaces. So I think my reflection point has been to just focus in the present and having those support structures around me so that, I have people to talk to, I have people to work it out so that when I am trying to do these crazy, amazing things that I am doing, that I have somebody to be able to share that journey, share the story, but also tell me when I just need a weekend at home, a weekend to just ground myself. So it's been a very huge, I think, turning point for me. This is my sixth year in Dunedin, and to be on the other side of the country is a massive, and always was a massive step for me. But I think also, now that I look up, overseas and the opportunities that are coming my way, it's about how do I rein that in. To be tactical and smart about those decisions for the betterment of myself, really.
Yeah, no, awesome. No, thank you for sharing. It's nice to have you back. We have missed you over the last few weeks, so it's good to have you back. And you know what I always say too, and to everyone I work with is when you try to do everything, you end up doing nothing. So it's important to find out what those things are. And this lines up really well with what my reflection over the last week was. I did a boot camp with Speakers Institute this last weekend, which is really interesting, and it really took me out of my comfort zone. I've done lots of presentations over the years, but over that weekend, they tore me to pieces. They took me on this pedestal, they kicked the pedestal, and they just destroyed me. And I think I needed that. It was really quite confronting, and I think that's sometimes needed in our lives, that we need someone to come and just challenge you in different ways, but in a way that's growth ways. It was all growth. It wasn't someone to put you down. So it just reminds me that, hey, when we get comfortable, that's when the danger happens. We really got to be careful. So that was really, really good for me, and also a good reflection, a good segue for where this podcast is going to go, I think, over the next 45 minutes or so. Enough about us. For regular listeners, Tana and myself can keep on talking for hours and hours, which we can do anyway, but this is not about us. It's about our guest. Our guest today is someone that I have been following over the last few years on LinkedIn. Those of you that follow me again, I love that platform. It's amazing. It's someone that I've seen popping up increasingly more and more frequently on my feed. But what I love about the person that we're going to have today is the authentic reality that comes through. It's not about straightforward, narrow thinking. It's very clever, very creative, but also very different ways of thinking, but also challenging all the time. And also a lot of humor. And it's someone that I've somehow, they don't know this yet, but they come across a lot of my other networks that I work with, and then keeps on popping up here. So we thought it'd be great to have them on the podcast today. And if you haven't heard of him before, where have you been hiding? You better get off that rock there. Um, Welcome, thank you, and it's nice to have you on, Pastor Norm Stanley.
Oh, thank you so much. What a great introduction. I hope I live up to the hype.
Oh, I look at that smile already. You've lived up to it. Fantastic. Stanley, I guess, for our listeners who know nothing about you, do you want to tell them who you are at this point in time in your life as we have this conversation?
Yeah, perfect. So, yeah, well, to everyone listening, and to you guys, thanks for having me. My name's Stanley, and I'm I'm the CEO and founder of a company called the Attention Seeker. We are an organic social media agency at its core, but for the most part, we do whatever it takes to put people's brands or companies' brands in front of the audiences that they want to see. And we've got a lot of success of doing it for ourselves, which is why I'm probably all over people's feeds and getting talked about, because our philosophy in business is if we can't do it for ourselves, then we can't do it for our clients. So we're always case study number one. As you mentioned earlier, the newsletter, the LinkedIn, the Instagrams, the TikToks, the the other plethora of personal brands of people inside my business, not just me, my team, and everyone that we do. So that's a bit about me as a profession. I'm also the husband to Claire Henry, who's my wife and partner in business and in life. We've been married for a bit over a year now, but been together for in her words, way too long before we got married. And so it's been a long relationship, and a strong one. And she is really the backbone behind a lot of the success that you see with us, because I am someone who likes to set things on fire, and she takes away the matches. So it's a very good partnership to allow us to have this consistency and sustainability that we have. But yeah, that's me.
No, I love it. And I love that because it's not just about the business, but it's also about you and the person. And we always forget about the people that stand beside us and stand behind us that lift us up, which is really beautiful. But Stanley, if I came to you in your year 13 here when you were at school and I said to you, hey, Stanley, in 20 years or 25 years or 30 years' time, this is what you were doing, what would you have said to someone like us at that point in time?
Um, to be honest, I mean, you would like, first of all, you would have had no clue what the words you would have said to me. Oh,
Yeah,
you run an organic social media agency. What does that even mean? At that
yeah,
time, it was Bebo. So who knew what was going on? So I wouldn't even have understood the language that you would have been using to describe the thing that it didn't exist.
yeah,
That's so crazy. Um, but two, so that's one. The second thing is, uh, I was one of those people in life that grew up thinking that like I was destined for more than uh, what South Auckland was offering me where I grew up. Like I don't know if it's a little bit of arrogance or a little bit of a millennial growing up in the age that we did, where anything was possible. But I definitely would have said, yeah, okay, cool, that makes sense. Like given the, I guess, notoriety that we kind of have at this stage in life. But I would have no clue and not at all been able to fathom what we've been able to do in the last 5 or 6 years with this business. But even if you had have told me my career in hospitality that I had, I would have said, like, how? Like, where did that come from? Why hospitality? How did I fall into that? Throughout high school, especially in year 13, I was about to walk into university and start a software engineering degree. I wanted to make video games. I wanted to go learn how to code. I was probably like, if I had have gone down that path, I would have been right in line to be perfect, to capture the moment that the coding wave had. I was the right
yes.
age. But I dropped out because stupidly I thought, oh, let me go do a business degree instead because I don't want to be the guy who's coding. I want to be a guy who pays the guy who's coding.
Yeah.
Who knows? So I would have been very surprised that this is the path I took. The hotel path was the way that I took. Um, I probably would have been arrogant enough to be like, yeah, I'm probably going to be successful.
No,
But how was I had no idea.
and that's so true because what you said before is, and I think this is important for anyone listening, is that at that point in time, the word organic social marketing didn't exist. It doesn't exist. And it makes you ponder what words do we use today that are not going to exist in 10 years' time. It's crazy. And it's great because when I work with young people that are talking about career pathways, I challenge them to think about not jobs, but skills, which are
Mm,
very, very different, but it's very hard in the way we've been programmed to think about titles and jobs.
yeah, absolutely. Like you think like even now, like prompt engineers or like, things in AI fields that are just, like even 5 years ago, people would be like, are you crazy? Like, how is this a thing? So yeah, I think it's the real, I say that to a lot of my nephews and nieces who will come and talk to me or young people I see and they're like talking about what they want to do when they grow up and things. I'm like, honestly, like, yeah, fine, like work towards that if you want. But like to your point, I also think that there's only a handful of real skills in the world. And as long as you're learning some of them, like, is it leadership? Is it learning how to sell? Is it learning how to create content? Is it whatever it might be, I don't think there's many skills. The problem solving, there's a layer of engineering mindset that you need for different things. As long as you're learning those skills or those thought process, you don't know what the jobs are going to be. There's just no
Yeah.
way you're going to know. Yeah.
And that's so crazy. So just, when you go into a creative room and you look at these pictures, like, actually, that's cool. it's a representation of the past. But what does the
Yeah.
future look like? Which is really interesting. And talking about the past, there's one line that I see in your when I see your statements is you talk about you wanted to break the cycle of what you were you're born. Do you want to dive into that and talk about what that means for you and how that was, I guess, your ambition, I guess, in a certain way?
Yeah, absolutely. So I grew up in Manadea in South Auckland, and for those people listening who know that neighborhood, it's never been a very affluent neighborhood, or not the majority of it anyway. And we were a pretty typical family from Manadea. We weren't, we weren't the extreme of poverty, but we didn't have a lot of money growing up. But also, I grew up from a family who there was a lot of alcohol, there was a lot of smoking. I was the first person in my family to go to university. Like there wasn't a lot, like it was, you know, finish high school if you're lucky, if not, drop out, hopefully no earlier than 15. Um, Go get some trade or go work at some job that you can get a wage from and have a family and just work through that process and hopefully little bit by bit you can build a life for yourself. Typically, most of the family hadn't been able to do that, and they're like I wouldn't say that they're poor and they're not by any standards, but I live in Ponsonby now, which is a very different neighborhood, and they're not. My family don't represent the people that from Ponsonby as well in that sort of wealth level. So I come from this place that's like money was scarce. I've been hesitant recently to continue to say we were poor because I also found out that like I was a bit of an anomaly that I got to have dinner with my parents every night and my family, and I realized that that's not a thing that everyone gets, and that I had parents who were together right up until my adulthood, which is also a thing that doesn't happen a lot in today's society. So I did have quite a good family unit. I've got three brothers. All my brothers are entrepreneurs as well, and they all are quite successful in what they do. And we are all very tight and close. And I think that's something that I like. That's a very rich part of my life that I'm quite lucky for. So I had a really good family unit, but we did come from a place where like drinking was acceptable, drinking to get drunk was acceptable, smoking was a normal part of it. Drugs was like, sure, you're going to try them. Of course you are. Not necessarily was it celebrated drugs, but everyone knew that people smoked everything. And then also that money wasn't something that you could get very easily. Like money was a thing that you got to work hard for and you got to put a hard day's work into. And I wanted to, it was something that my dad instilled with us without us really knowing. I mean, he post rationalizes his tough parenting by saying I was trying to make you not want to use your brawn to make a living and instead use your brain. But he really did like instill this thing into us about entrepreneurship. Obviously, all four of my brothers went on to have their own businesses, so there's something there. And he also just like made us hate working hard. Like actually, like really hated like, you know, weeding the gardens and like mowing the lawns and just doing all this physical labor all the time, constantly. That like these days, I hate doing any of it. Even we just fit up the office, right? And
Yeah.
my wife did it all because I'm like, pay someone else. Like I'm not painting the wall. Like I got better things to do. I've got keyboards to type on, you know? And so even now I still dislike that sort of work. I can do it because I've done it my whole childhood and my whole teenage years, but I didn't. So I guess I came from this world where like that was tough, but then I luckily had parents who like tried their best to instill these other principles in us. And then now my job is how can I show the world um, what is a blueprint for a different life if you came from the same world? And the reason I say it that way, as opposed to me, I want to help lots of people do the same, is I've gotten to a point in life now where I really understand that the saying of you can lead a horse to water. I really understand that you can't force them to drink it. So now my life's sort of goals, although I want to help a lot of people where I came from, I'm not going to go out there and drag them along and make them do things and like advocate for them and be an activist. I'm just going to like showcase every single step along the way and showcase that like and make sure the world knows like that's where I came from. But I did all these things and I did it daily and there's been ups and downs. It's not all just smooth sailing. And hopefully some people go, oh, I could stumble along through life just like he did and get to where he got to, because that's a pretty good place to be. And if I can do that, then hopefully I can break some of the cycles that some of us were born into.
What a great story. Thank you for sharing that there. And I love that because you spoke about richness and poorness in terms of two different ways. We look at richness and poorness, and as you said before, richness of family gives you so much intangible things. Like as you said, your dad made you work really hard. So following on, like I'm not you videoed the whole office rebuild, but you tell the story, hey, I didn't that was not my jam. I did it, but not for me, right? So it's
Yeah.
really awesome. And as you said, the poor side wasn't about not having money, it's about not having money easily, which is a very different conversation. And it's really beautiful because last night I was invited to the first foundation awards ceremony, and it just what you were saying just reminded me of the stories the young people were sharing there, that hey, some of them might have broken families, but they were talking about the opportunities that they have been given by seeing people that are very similar. So as you said, it's not about, hey, here you go, I'm going to help you. It's about, here's a hand up, not a handout.
Mhm.
We've all struggled, so it's a real beautiful synergy, and I think that's more helpful to the world than just, hey, here you go, here's my money, off you go, do your thing. I mean, that's my own thought, but
Yeah.
yeah, no, thank you for sharing that there. I actually said you went to university and business was not your jam, and you decided to change pathway there and disappear for a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. University was a funny one. I spent a few years there. I never got anything from it. I didn't graduate. I I found like the alcohol caught up with me, and I partied too hard, and I enjoyed my life, and I made it. And I just wasn't ready for university at the time. And I think for me anyway, and other people that I've met that are like me, it was just I probably should have went. Like I understand why people take a gap year and they go off and get things out of their system, and they do, and they see the world and they experience stuff after 12 years of school. So I didn't do that, and I went to uni and I mucked around a whole lot, and I didn't quite graduate. And so a year before I was going to graduate, I quit and I went to Australia, and I moved there, and um, I kind of did it quite abruptly. Like I just made a decision one day and took off, and it was my mum. It was like 2 days notice I gave my mum that I was moving to Australia. She was like, "Wait." She actually, to be honest, I don't think she really, but she just thought, "Oh, he'll be back. Like he's bought a cheap ticket over there, and he'll be back." And yeah, 12 years later, I came back to New Zealand, so I was gone a little bit longer, and I think it caught up for her after a while. After a few months, she realized like, "Hey, wait, are you coming back?" I'm like, "Oh, nah, like I'm really enjoying it here." And I think because everyone thought I was gonna fail again, because I hadn't really done anything in my life that to that point, the stubbornness made me sit in. Like I found every way I could to stay. But yeah, it was a pretty hard few years at the beginning of New Zealand, of Australia. I moved over in 2008, and if anyone remembers that year, it wasn't a great year for many people in life. And I was working in the hospitality and tourism industry, which probably got hit one of the hardest outside of banks, probably. And yeah, we went through this period of like the first 9 months I was there, I was living in an apartment. I was working pretty temperamentally. I probably took home maybe that year like 30 grand, maybe, which at that time still wasn't much money, even back then in Australia, in a place like Gold Coast where I was living. Um, but what was really tough is that right about September or so of that 2008 year, um, my brother and my cousin who were living with me both lost their jobs as well because of stuff that happened with the GFC. And then in October, the end of September, start of October, our lease was up on our apartment.
Oh, oh wow.
Then and we're like, oh, we'll just renew though. And they're like, no, the Indy 500's on this month. We're going to rent out your apartment in a month for what you're going to pay us for a year.
Oh
You can
wow.
come back in November, maybe.
Yeah.
So we were kicked out, and then we realized no one's renting at that time in Gold Coast because we didn't know what the Indy was as a race car, and it took over the whole city. So we ended up homeless for 6 weeks, living in a car, the three of us, and they both lost their jobs. It was just me. I was going to work each day, trying to make enough money to feed three grown men, not off a lot of money. And that was probably like some of the rock bottom parts of my life. Like it was pretty tough. And about 6 weeks in, I was like, I've had enough of this. Like this is stupid. Like we shouldn't be doing this. So I went out and I had $100 left in my bank account, and I went and withdrew it all out. took it to a pub nearby and asked them if they had $100 bill. Got it changed to $100 bill. Wrapped this $100 pill up and put it into this little like metal container that was a keyring. I still have it. And I
Wow.
said to myself at the time, if you have to spend this, just give up on life. Like
Wow.
you need to realize that this is it. This is the breaking point now. Like you can only move forward from here. Never look at this again. The moment you look at this again means that you've given up. So I still have it because it still plays a big part. It's still in my bag that I take traveling with me everywhere. And it's just a reminder that like at some point you have to take ownership and you have to say, is this what I want? No. Okay, well, what are you gonna bloody do about it? You like get on your bike. And then so from that moment on, like a week later, we had found a place to live. I managed to we helped my cousin get a job. My brother, I moved him into one of his friends' houses and I was able to pay his rent until he got back on his feet. And, like a year later, I was a supervisor at my job and had a $55,000 salary and all, so like all these things just like fell into place because I just decided, you know what? I don't want this anymore. Like I don't want to be an idiot. I
Yeah.
need to go and make the life that I wanted. So that was like, yeah, that was like that was like my start of my career, but also my like life abroad.
What a pivotal mindset moment there, there's the book Extreme Ownership that Jocko Willink had
Mm.
written about in the army and stuff, but this is the real life extreme ownership moment for you where you're like, actually, this is on me. Whatever happens now is on me. And how did you feel when you made that decision? I mean, that would have been at I'm guessing you were in your 20s or so, or
Yeah, I
yeah,
was
this is
21.
yeah,
Yeah, I was 21 at the time, and oh, it was huge. It was a huge moment for me. It was like I'm quite a I'm quite pragmatic as a person, and I'm also I'm very good in chaos. Like I'm very good in a crisis response, and I can or like as an example, people will often ask me like, "Where's your vibe sitting at? Where are you at on a scale of 1 to 10?" I'm always a five. I'm never
yeah,
not a five. And so at that point in time, it wasn't an emotionally fueled decision. It was you've literally got $100 left. Like, what is this? Like, what are you doing? What are you doing with your life? Like, you don't want this. A series of unfortunate events just happened that put you into this position, but like you get to decide the next steps. Like, you don't have to let those continue to push you down. So I don't, because I am always kind of even keeled in my responses to things. It wasn't like an emotional response or anything or any like big epiphany. It was just like, what do I want? Okay, well,
yeah,
I don't want to be living in a car. I'm embarrassed to tell anyone. We didn't tell anyone. None of my brother, my cousin, and I, none of our family knew what was happening. They all still thought we had an apartment. We were real quiet about it all. We didn't tell anyone at work, like none of at work. Like I still remember my cousin, we got on some odd jobs where he had to drive off at 4 in the morning to go do this gig. And so I had to get out of the car at 4 in the morning because he was driving up to Ipswich, which was 2 hours away. But I had not finished work till midnight that night before.
yeah,
And so 4 a.m. I went back to work. I went to the locker rooms and slept in one of the shower cubicles. And I did that for 2 weeks of the 6 weeks. And that was kind of the moment where I was like, "Ah, this is embarrassing. Like, what is going on here? Like, is this what you want?" Like, and then the option was, should I just go home to mum, to dad, go stay back with my parents? And because I was so stubborn, I was like, no, no, I can make this work. I can make this work. So the moment for me was just a moment of like just reflection of saying, like, what do you want? What is this? What are we doing? Okay, what if we don't want this, what are the actual steps to get out of this and go and do it?
that is really, really powerful. And I say it's powerful because a lot of time we make emotive decisions, which are not logical decisions. And when I do my leadership coaching, I'm like, is this emotive? Or is it logical? And most people come as an emotional decision, and this is why things go awry. So it's really, really profound seeing how you just break that down. And I love how you say you just even killed. A lot of us are not even killed. But at the end of the spectrum. And also when someone says you're a five, people take it as a negative. But hey, it's perception, right? Which is really
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Um, at the start, Tane spoke about mentors, and in all of your writing, everywhere you speak about someone that was really influential in your life, Vikas Malhotra. How is that? What is that moment for you, and how did you get in front of him or next to him, or?
Yeah, Vikas was he was a really, really great man. And he he pulled me aside actually not long after I found another apartment, and he was my boss. Well, he wasn't even my boss. He was my boss's boss at work. And so there was probably 100 and something of us in the team, and he was the big boss. And when you're in those environments, you wouldn't even think that this person probably even knew
No,
your name, right?
yeah.
So he was the big boss. And one day I was doing some work and I was running through, and he pulls me aside. He's like, "Hey, come here." He's like, "What are you doing? Like, what are you doing?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm setting up the room for such and such." He's like, "No, like, what are you doing? Why are you here? What are you doing with this? You're not the same as the other kids here. Like, you're quite clever. There's something going on here. You got a different head on your shoulders. Why are you here?" And I was like, "Oh, I need the money. Like, I've got to pay my rent and do things." And he's like, "Yeah, but like, what about your career? Like, what's your career? Like, what are you doing in life? Like, you're just going to stay here being an F&B attendant and blah, blah, blah." And I was like, "Oh, to be honest, I haven't really thought about it. Like, I don't really know what options I have." And he's like, "Well, would you want a career? Like, do you want a career? Like, do you want something? Like, do you want something more than just taking home this 30 hours a week casual wages that you're getting at the moment?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, I'd love something." He's like, "Okay, well, are you staying in Australia? Or are we going home to New Zealand soon? Are you going to go back to mum, or are you staying here?" And I was like, "How does he know all
Wow.
of this stuff,
Yeah.
And then I was like, "Oh, well, yeah, I want to." And he's like, "Okay, come to me tomorrow and tell me you're keen, and I'll make it work." So the next day I went home and I was talking to my mom, and she's like, "Well, fuck, what else are you gonna do? Like, you might as well go back to this guy and say you're serious." So I did, and literally from that moment, um, he did everything in his power to put me in the right positions to give me exposure to the things I needed to learn to progress me through my career. A few months after that, I was made a team leader of my department, still casual, but I had some authority. I excelled at that, and people were like, "Wow, give him a little bit of authority. Look what he's able to produce with his team." And then that then quickly led to a few months later, I became a supervisor of my department. I did that for about 6 months or so, maybe a little bit longer. And then I was tapped on his shoulder again, and he tapped me on the shoulder again. And he said, "Look, are you willing to move to Brisbane from Gold Coast?" And I was like, "Yeah, I mean, why am I moving to Brisbane? But yeah, I mean, like, I'm not opposed to where I live." And he's like, "Okay, well, there's a job going there, banquets manager. I'm going to put you forward for it. And when I say I'm going to put you forward for it, they'll take you because I told them to take you. So
Yeah.
are you going to let me down, or are you going to go do it?" And I'll say, "Oh, no, I'll go do it." And so he's like, "Okay." So things happened. I ended up as the banquets manager in Brisbane. I did that for a year and a bit. Uh, I got, I had a lot of success in that role. I then went traveling. Then I went traveling for a bit because I wanted to do a bit of an OE by that point. So I took off and I went traveling. When I got back to New Zealand, oh, sorry, Australia, a year or so later, he was there again. He's like, "All right, what
Wow.
have you been doing?" I was like, "I've done this and this." He's like, "Okay, well, I've got a restaurant that needs someone to run it. I'll put you in here." So I put him there, succeeded there. He put me in up, and then it was just that. Like every moment, he's like, he saw stuff in me that I never knew I was possible. And he put me into positions where I was able to shine and showcase these abilities that I had. A lot around leadership and my ability to like um, take really quick stock of the business model of the functional department I was working in. And I was able to like, one, get a team to work behind me really quickly, and two, drive towards a better and more profitable solution for that particular business. And he was able to like help me showcase those skills a lot of the way. He became obviously a very good friend. It continued, like constantly continued throughout my career, right up until the day where I was moving to Melbourne. And I was going for a role down there. It was a really good role. I was a food and beverage director for the Ridges hotel chain. Um, uh, he gave me a call just randomly. I don't know how he knew stuff, but he gave me a call and he's like, "Oh, so what are you doing? You applying for roles? What's going on?" I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm going for this role down here." He's like, "Okay, give me his number. Who's the GM?" I was like, "This guy's all right." And he calls him. Like later on that day, Rob calls me. He's like, "Who's that guy?" Like, "Oh my God!" Like he told me if I don't hire you, I'm an idiot and I should probably quit my job. So
Wow.
I'm going to fly you down tomorrow and let's have a chat. And so I flew down and that was it. And then Rob saw the same in me. Rob is also another really great mentor, really similar to Vikas as well, obviously a
Yeah.
lot time frame. And so anyway, that was it. Like I really have a lot of my career to thank for him. I was luckily and privileged enough to do that. But what was really interesting, one, quite sad because Vikas passed away in 2020. He playing cricket one day, came off the side, and just didn't get back up, just kneeled down, 72 not out, and then we got out. It's funny because like nowadays I look back and it's like he probably had COVID, to be honest, at the beginning, because that was right at the beginning of the wave and no
Yeah.
one knew. They hadn't really. Anyway, that's another story.
Yeah.
So I went to his funeral and I was one of 400 or 500 people he had done this to.
Wow.
Like they were all there, like all of
Wow.
them there. And the like speeches and the stories that people were sharing, none of us knew
What the
that
other?
he had done this for all of us.
Wow.
And we all were often doing it. And like and so I look at it now and I'm like I want to be that guy, you know,
Yeah.
like what an impact someone can have where they just see stuff in people and they're like, do you want it or not? Like, if you want it, I'll put you in the right spot. If you don't want it, go away. But he's able to identify what was the best for them and put them in those situations. And it's like, I think if you were to talk to my team now and the ones who have been with me for a while, they would get it because I've learned to lead the same way of
Yeah.
like, I see something in people, I put them in a position at first, the first year, they're like, what's going on here? Like, why does Stan make me do this? A year later, when everyone applauds them for how good they've been, they're like, oh, that's what it was. You know, and like I learned that from him because that's what he did for me. So, you know, you learn from the people who teach you the things. And so yeah, no, he's been instrumental both for me, the other 400 or 500 people he did it to, but then
Yeah.
obviously as a cascading effect, the tens of thousands of people we've all interacted with as well.
Yeah. I see the emotion that brought up in you as well. So it's obviously the impact of this amazing human is really beautiful. It reminds me of the butterfly effect. You have no idea that effect that he had on you all those years ago.
Mm.
And as you said just now, the tens of thousands of people that have been impacted by that one question pulling you aside, hey, why are you here?
Yeah.
It's really, really magical. And again, all testament to him to actually pull you aside. He doesn't have to do that thing. It was on the job description. He had nothing to gain. They're really, really powerful. And it's really beautiful to see that that's the way that you see the world as well from that.
Mm.
Yeah, no, powerful. And I see that when I see your stories, but I also see that when I see your staff, the engagement that they have is really, I'm going to use the word amazing, but it doesn't capture exactly what is coming through. So yeah, kudos to you and kudos to the people that have led you to think that way there. Which is, yeah, I just want to share that, which is why Tanya spoke about those mentors, and I think it's really a timely piece to talk about the importance of mentors and what they can do in your lives and what they look like as well. Tanya, do you want to come in here?
Yeah, sorry, it's been quite awesome to hear. Yeah, I think there's a few similarities in our stories. And I guess from here, what led you to then carry on without a mentor? Obviously, you found other mentors, but it's never the same as your first mentor. As you said, I think similar story. We were both very fortunate to have parents that, for better or worse, were our mentors. When I came to university, a lot of people said, "Oh, you're just here because you got a Māori scholarship," or there were other reasons that I was there. And I was like, "No, well, actually, my parents have supported me, and it's never been financially, but they seen potential in me when nobody else really did." So I guess, yeah, linking back to my question, how did you then carry on without your first mentor to go, "Yeah, I'm going to make this a positive," while still highlighting the importance of taking care of yourself and taking care of those who are most important to you.
Yeah, it's a real good question. And I think it's a good question for a lot of people actually as well to hear. Because you're right, when someone is that instrumental early on and actually opened all the doors for you, there if you take it the wrong way, you can get into a place of like enablement where you don't know how to tie your own shoelace kind
Yeah,
of thing, right? And I think it's quite important for mentors when they're doing that. I know in hindsight that although he opened the door, like it was still a pretty hard door to walk through. Like he still
Yeah.
made sure that he did a lot of effort. So I think that first of all, if mentors are listening and you're doing this, like that's something that I do a lot now with my team is like I make sure I give them opportunities, but it's not so easy that things in life just get given to them, right? And so there's that piece of it. But that is so important. That's the actual kind of the answer is that because it was still a long, hard slog for me, I had built up this idea of like everything I had to do, I still had to work for. I still had to be able to go through it. So I developed this really good work ethic. I also understood that I started to learn this concept of leadership and both leading up, leading down, leading sideways, leading everyone in places. When you learn how to lead up really well, it allows you to seek out the people you need to lead up. So I learned how to find the people around me who are smarter than me, and I got them to teach me. I got them to lead me. And I actually ended up like uh, finding quite a lot of new mentors because I had developed this leadership style of seeking feedback and growth and knowledge and understanding from all these other people. So I actually, Rob, for instance, who was my GM in Melbourne, he's amazing to like actually amazing, like just as impactful as Vikas. And if I had him in the early stages of my career, it would have been the same, probably the same story. He also has done this to hundreds of people the same way. I then had another mentor, Chris Bannerham, who was phenomenal, like phenomenal leader. And there's many, many more in different places. And now I still have plenty of like people throughout my business life. But it's all because of the skill set of leadership that like Vikas instilled in me early on. I had this inkling of leadership growing up. I was always like captain of my rugby teams and things like that. And so I already had some natural ability, but he taught me the importance of um, leading upwards and that um, really, really good leaders lead everyone around them. They add to it. That meant that I was seeking mentors out everywhere I went. I don't know if I called them mentors when I was younger. I didn't know if I was that. I just was walking around going, I want to learn from as many people as possible. That guy is awesome at what he does. Look at the accolades he's had. Look at the respect he gets from his people. And I would like leech off them as much as I can. And even now in business, I tell clients off when they give me weak feedback, like when they're like, "Oh, everything's great, we love what we've done." I'm like, no, that's terrible. Like, give it to me. Like, and I do it in a way that's like me leading up. They're my client, they're
Yes.
my boss, right? I'm
Yeah.
the owner. My only bosses are my clients.
Yeah.
So how do I lead up? And then now they become my mentors. They
Yeah.
teach me to be a business owner and better leader. So
What a lovely, lovely share there as well, Stanley. Because leading up is something that's a skill that you develop. And then like
mm,
anything in life, if your foundations are strong, so we got set the foundations, then you built a really strong house and that there with all the other people that come along. If we fast forward to where you are right now, Attention Seeker, how did we come to that name there? It's a bit obvious, but just in case.
yeah. I mean, to be honest, I was looking. I knew attention was going to be in it. I knew the word attention. It was at the time when that word as a currency was being quite popularized by people like Gary Vee or other people in the sort of marketing world. Attention economy was a strong thing coming through. Um, and so I came up with just like a bunch of like things with attention on, and I was just putting the word attention agency, attention whatever, blah blah blah. And I think I had five, and then I sent it to 30 people, and I said, rank these in order from one to five, of best to worst. And I did this preferential voting because I didn't want,
Yeah.
first past the post or nothing. I wanted to have some real, what's the best of them? Every single one, top one was Attention Seeker, was number one. And then I
Wow.
was like, okay, we got the name. We got the name. And then what I learned later on, as I got to know, it's like it is obvious, but it's obvious because it is a word, it's a phrase that is used for so many other things. Being an
Yeah,
attention seeker is and already in our lexicon. Like we already know those
that's
two
right.
words next to each other. Attention agency isn't. We get it, we get what it means, but it's not a thing our brain already knows. We haven't got the neurons already firing down it. So I now know why everyone chose that because it was the most familiar to them out of all of the ones.
Yeah.
Um, And then, I just couldn't believe there was a .com.
Wow, winning.
That's it.
Wow, love it. Sometimes it's the most simple things that get it across the line.
That's it.
No,
Exactly.
no
Real simple
complications.
story. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Um, Talking about simple stories, it's not really simple. You moved over to New York, you set up a bit of a life there, and you come back to New Zealand. What has that adjustment been going, just living there, and then coming back to Auckland?
Yeah. Yeah. Look, both, it's a weird one. It's quite a, um, it's two sides to the coin, right? Like, New York's amazing. Love New York. Can't wait to get back. Can't wait to be back there. And we will. Um, however, New Zealand works. It's real easy. And I tried to share this a lot with people when I came back that don't take for granted how good it is here. Like, people complain and whinge and moan about a lot of things here. And look, New Zealand's got its problems. But man, it's easy. Like, life's easy here. Like, things work actually. Like, the things we complain about. Actually, like, a funnier story is you look at the front page of the newspapers here versus the front pages of, say, New York, and they're just the differences in stories. Like, you got things here like, oh, such and such sheep won its best sheep of the
Yeah,
year or something. And in New York, it's like this person got stabbed, and it's like, I mean, that's a pretty terrible example, but like, you get the picture, is that like we
yeah,
actually have it pretty good here. And I can see why so many Kiwis come back from their overseas careers and whatnot to raise a family here and to live here long term, because it works. It's such a good country in the way that it does work. We have a really good high standard of living here relative to the rest of the world. And because in New York, it's chalk and cheese, and like, you can be sitting at a cafe, you got a billionaire to one side of you, and outside is a guy begging for lunch,
yeah,
you know. And it's very common. It's like such a wide gap and everything. Look, now we have billionaires and we have homeless people here in New Zealand, but like, it's not as common. And one, it's not like, it's a very different, if you've ever been to New York, you understand what I'm trying to say, that it is a very different feel when you see it and the extremes of everything in that city. So it's a real hard city to live in. It's really expensive. It's really tough. It's filthy. There's rats everywhere. Nothing quite works. But then the chaos of that collision of energy that happens in New York, because nothing works. Like, I lived in Japan for a bit. Japan's perfect. You don't even know that 3 million people are on the train next to you. Like, you
yeah,
it just works.
yeah,
In New York, you go to a train station in New York and it's an absolute mess. Like, it's chaos. But these collisions happen inside the city. Those collisions cause magic. And we found that we would run into people, and the next minute you're out for dinner with them, or they've taken you up to their high-rise office, and you're signing a six-figure contract. Like, that actually happened with
yeah.
us.
Wow,
And it's like, that can't happen in Auckland. That will
no,
never happen in Auckland. It will never happen.
yeah,
No one here will talk to you on the street, because we're all in our own world. I mean, maybe in smaller country towns, but not in Auckland. That's never going to happen. So there was both the coming back, the adjustment was easy to fall back into my life. It works. It's good. But man, I miss those collisions. I miss the energy. I miss the like chaos that New York brings. And I can't wait to get back, because it's just one of those cities where, like, it really is everything it says it is. It is like, if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. That is a true thing. Um, but yeah.
You know what I love there? Stanley, was at the start of the podcast, you used the word chaos to describe the way your world works, and it seems to be this is the thread that comes to you with New York chaos. But you know, chaos theory. In chaos,
Yeah.
there's some organization, which is
Yeah.
amazing. Which is amazing. We've got about 5 minutes to go because I know you've got a hard stop. So I guess we'll end up the podcast with a question that we ask all our guests. And our podcast is called Baskets of Knowledge. And every podcast we have, we invite our guests to share a piece of knowledge to put into our basket and our kitty. You shared so much today, but is there any piece of knowledge that you'd love to put into our basket for our listeners, for myself, Tane, and anyone out there to ponder about?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the thing top of mind for me at the moment is this idea that people still, as much as I talk about it, don't value the idea of having a personal brand. And you talk about, like, people from university or people from, like, even trying to find mentors, Tane, like, or looking for mentors and things like that. Like, we get given stuff in life, or we get opportunities in life when people know us. And I think that that comes from like really owning and defining your personal brand, which is just another way of saying your reputation. Um, but don't sleep on like, LinkedIn as a good example, or any of these other things, or doing stuff like this podcast. Like, if anyone's out there listening, like, um, don't be the typical Kiwi who sits and watches everyone else. Like, go get it. Like, it's just in there waiting for you. And this is one of those, me leading a horse to water, but like I know most people won't drink it, but there'll be one person who does. And this always happens when I say it. One person will do it, and that person will message me in a year and be like, "Hey, I watched this podcast you're on, and you said to do this thing on LinkedIn. You told me to start posting on LinkedIn every day, and I did it. And I just called this new job, or I just started this new business, or something cool happened." So if there's anything I tell everyone, just start posting on LinkedIn one a day. Just go do it. Start building your personal brand. Trust me, you will not regret it in a year's time.
And that is so beautiful because that's something that I tell everyone. Tony knows this. I tell them all the time. Just post, just post, just post. And I love that because it's not about an item. It's about you. Every single day you're out there, they see Stanley, they see Tony, they see Prajesh, and whatever reputation you have out there is what precedes you. So it's a bit like how your reputation preceded you well before we had a chat. It's really, really, really beautiful, and it could be good or bad, but it is reputation.
Yeah.
Stanley, thank you so much. Any last words, Tane, before we say goodbye to Stanley?
No, I think just to reiterate what Patricia said in terms of thanks for giving up your time, and I think that's been an insightful conversation despite it only being 45, 50 minutes. But I know that our listeners will take away what they need to, and I think that's a testament to why we call the podcast Basics of Knowledge, because it really is for people to take what they want from our podcast, to take what they want from our discussions, and if they take nothing, then that's as you say, that's all we can ask for. But if they take everything, then that's also awesome. We're just here to chat, and me and PJ continue to chat, even though now we're both opposite sides of the country again. So you make it work if you really value it.
That's,
Yeah, thank you so much, Stanley. Thank you for jumping on today. Thank you for your time. We could keep talking on because there's so much in your life that is amazing. But I think the stuff that we spoke about today is really foundational in who you are today. And I think our listeners, and also I've learned so much about you as a person. So thank you so much for your time. And I might bump into you in Auckland and come and maybe claim one of those free coffees at some point, which might not be happening anymore. But hey, who knows?
yeah, absolutely. Please come in and say hello. And thank you guys for having me. I always love these conversations, especially when it's not about the business and more about some other stories that I have. I've lived many lives, and so it's definitely, if you ever want me back on the podcast to talk about some of those other lives, feel free to have me on. I love having the conversation. So thank you for having me.
No, totally. Thank you so much. To our listeners out there, hopefully you listened today and learned something. If you haven't listened and learned something, it's on you. Go back and listen again because I'm sure you've missed out. But otherwise, the most important thing, as we always say, is don't forget to keep safe, find a reason to smile, and don't forget to put something into your past knowledge. Till next time, ka kite. Bye, everybody. Peace.
Yeah.